Sri Sai Ram. My most loving and humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Beloved Swami, respected elders, sisters, brothers and children, Jai Sai Ram. My name is Kamal and I'm from Bradford, West Yorkshire. I would like to thank the UK SAI organisation for giving me this opportunity to share my moment with Sai. So I wasn't born into a Sai family. My mother started following Swami in the 1970s. And I recall at that age, an early age, seeing a photo of Swami in our shrine room. It was a small photograph and I was always intrigued as to who this person was with the afro hairstyle. We also had, and still do, have the same photo of Shirdi Sai Baba, which whenever I looked at it, filled me with a sense of warmth and love, and it still does. So I wasn't a religious person growing up as a teenager, born here in the United Kingdom. I followed the various religious events. I was born as a Hindu and the cultural events, but I wasn't really interested in spirituality or religion. So my mother started attending the Bradford Sai Mandir from 1980 time. So I would drop her off at the Sai Mandir and then pick her up after bhajans had finished on the Thursday. I wouldn't even go inside for the aarti. I just used to wait outside. Shivratri time, 1983, my mother asked us, myself, my brother and my sister, if we wanted to come with her to bhajans at the Sai Mandir. They would have 12-hour bhajans with Lingam Abhishek as well. Prior to that, she had never asked us whether we wanted to come or forced us to go to the Sai Mandir. But on that occasion, she asked us and we all agreed to go. And I remember the bhajans, the music, the tablas, the harmonium, being enthralled by the bhajans. I didn't really understand what the bhajans meant, but the music just inspired me. It lit a spark within me. And I remember just those tunes reverberating in my mind for the coming months ahead. So Christmas time of that year, 1983, the family planned a trip to India. So myself, my sister, my father and my mother went to India. And I know that my mother really wanted to go to Prashanti Nilayam, but unfortunately my father hadn't put that down on the itinerary. He had Bangalore and Mysore, but my father didn't really follow Swami, so he didn't have Prashanti on the itinerary. When we reached Mumbai and the journey was planned in detail to go to the south of India, my father said, okay, we'll go to Prashanti Nilayam. My mother was overjoyed. And I recall that the journey via coach to Bangalore, Dharmavaram and then Prashanti took well over 30 hours. So we reached Prashanti Nilayam a few days before Christmas, late in the evening. So the next morning we went for darshan. We really didn't know what darshan was and my father said, just follow what everybody else does. So we queued up for the lines, and then we were seated towards the front. I think possibly the third line. And I remember Swami coming from the Prashanti Mandir and walking towards the gents' side where we were seated, and he walked almost to the front and stood in front of us. And then he looked into my eyes, deeply into my eyes, and I was just fixated. I couldn't move. I was overcome with emotion. I don't know why. And it seemed to last for quite some time, but I think it was probably only for a few moments, a few seconds. This was probably Swami talking to my inner side, saying, your journey begins. I have plans for you. So after the darshan, I needed to find out more about who Swami was. So I proceeded to the bookshop and bought lots of books, Holy Man the Psychiatrist, Man of Miracles, and started reading them all. So after we returned to the United Kingdom, it wouldn't be another 18 months later that we actually joined the Saifold. And that was in the summer of 1985 when we joined the SAI Bhajan group in Bradford. After that, my parents pretty much every year would go to India for many months during the winter months here, and they would stay in Prashanti for at least 2 months. And they were very fortunate to have had interviews with Swami. And in one of the interviews, Swami said to my parents that he would always look after them. He said, "Bahut kripa hai meri aap par. There's abundance of my grace with you." And he said he would always look after them. He then said, "You do realize that I'm there with you every Friday when you have bhajans at your home." My parents hadn't mentioned anything about the bhajans that we had then in our previous home every Friday. And then when they narrated this on their return back from India, those Friday bhajans became even more special, knowing that Swami had actually acknowledged that he was there every single Friday. Fast forward now to an incident that took place in 2016. I think it was around May or June time. So my father was admitted to hospital with severe chest pains. My wife and I accompanied him to the hospital. It was taken by ambulance, and we were seated in one of the side cubicles waiting for the doctor. My father was laid down. There was a nurse there, myself and my wife. And suddenly my father just leapt up from that lying down position and he started struggling to breathe. And then he looked at me into my eyes deeply, almost as if to say, "Son, I'm going." The nurse pressed the alarm, and within seconds, the room was filled with doctors who started CPR. We were taken out of the room and taken into another side room. I was in a total state of panic. I was just overcome with grief. I just resigned. I was resigned to the fact that my father was going to pass away. I couldn't even think to pray to Swami. And I said to my wife, "This is it. I think Dad is going." She said, No. He's not. Have faith in Swami. Swami will save him." So we called for my mother. A neighbour of ours brought our mother. We lived close by to the hospital, so it didn't take long. And then sometime later, the doctor came into the room and told us that my father had a cardiac arrest, a heart attack, and that he was in a serious condition. They'd managed to revive him. And we asked whether we could come in and see him, and he said, "Yes, come in." So I remember walking into that room. It's nothing like you see on TV or the movies. My father was laid there on the bed, connected to all these various monitoring appliances, various tubes and things, which was obviously giving him medication. So we sat beside him and we looked at his body, and we were just overcome with grief. And we felt that, he was suffering. My mother and I started talking to him and saying, if Swami is calling you, Dad, please go, please go. We didn't want him to suffer. My wife said, don't be silly, Swami's going to save him, Swami's going to save him. She always carries a packet of vibhuti in her purse. She took out the packet of vibhuti from her purse and asked the doctor, this is sacred holy ash. Can I please apply it on my father? And the doctor said, yes, sure, no problem. So she applied the vibhuti on my father's chest, and she drew actually an Om with the vibhuti, and she said, let's chant the Gayatri mantra. So we started chanting the Gayatri mantra. And then a few moments later, the alarm started beeping on the monitoring machines, and we knew that something had happened again to my father. We were asked to leave the room and go back into that side room. And then, I can't remember, but around 5-10 minutes later, the doctor came in and said, your father has had another cardiac arrest. We've just managed to revive him, but he's in a critical condition now. We don't expect him to pull through, given his age. He was around 83, and his medical history. My father had numerous operations, various bits of his body removed, like his gallbladder, his spleen. He'd had cancer. So they said, we don't expect him to pull through. And they advised us to call any relatives immediately, any near relatives. They also asked us what we would like to do if my father goes into arrest again, what intervention. We said we didn't want our father to suffer. So we went back into the room, sat beside my father, started chanting the Gayatri mantra again. And then suddenly my father started making these hand movements like this. And we just thought it was probably some reaction or side effect of the medication that he was given. And then again, the monitor started beeping, and I could actually see this time I looked in, and the line became flat. And the doctor looked at us, and we knew that we'd lost my father. And then suddenly he said, no, he's coming back. So he started stabilizing, and then slowly, he started stabilizing more, and the doctors couldn't believe it. I recall now to this day the doctor saying, this is a miracle. And in fact, in his file, and we saw this, they put in quotes, miracle man. They couldn't believe after what he'd been through that he survived. So anyway, later on he had a stent fitted. My father had a blocked artery, so they fitted him with a stent. And I think it was a couple of days later that my father regained consciousness properly to be able to speak to us. And we asked him what he recalled, and he said, well, I remember sitting in the ambulance with Priti, that's my wife, and the next thing I remember was I was in a room, I was laid down, Swami was beside me, holding my hand, and then I saw that all these people were there at the entrance with one big figure leading them. And Swami ushered them away. He said, go, go. It's not his time yet. And we were amazed. We were amazed. We knew that that was the confirmation that Swami was there in that room, and Swami had saved my father. I'd like to just narrate another small incident again around the power of vibhuti. So in 1998, myself and my wife were in Prashanti, and I recall when this incident occurred, the day before, my wife had a very high fever, high temperature, and I said to her on the morning of the next day that don't come for darshan. We won't go for darshan. Rest. She said, no. I need to go. I want to go. And I said, okay. She said, I'll meet you outside the shopping complex after darshan. So after darshan, I made my way to the shopping complex. So I waited outside. So the shopping complex, the time to go in for ladies and gents is separate. So I waited outside. Then I recall a young lady coming towards me in quite a rush and asked me, "Are you Preeti Ben's husband?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Please don't worry, but your wife has fallen and hurt herself badly in the head." So I went up to the entrance. My wife was there. Several people were with her and they were holding her. I could see that there was a lot of blood that was down the side of her face. There was a bandage or something that had been put on her head. She had fallen and cracked her head on the side of the stone steps. Now, what had transpired was that on that, just after the darshan, Dr. Gadia's niece was there, and she'd been given an interview by Swami, and Swami had materialized vibhuti for her. So she, for whatever reason, I now know the reason, had kept that vibhuti in her hand and not taken it or shared it with anybody. Anyway, when she saw that my wife had fallen and she'd hurt herself badly, she's immediately applied all that vibhuti into her cut, and then they put the bandage on. So to fast forward and cut a long story short, she was taken to. We took her to the hospital where they stitched the wound, and it was a quite lengthy wound. It was several inches. I saw it for myself. It was a very deep cut. They put the bandage on, and then this like a hairnet to keep the flies, etc., away from the wound. And the doctor said, when you get back to Mumbai, please get it checked out by the doctors. So when I returned to Mumbai, we went to my aunt's doctor, and he checked everything, and he said, "What are you talking about? There's nothing here. I can't see anything. There's no wound, no stitches, nothing." And he showed us and showed me, and I was amazed. There was nothing there. And just only a few days, the week before, there was a deep gash which was stitched. And I was amazed how Swami had healed my wife and the wound. And even when we returned back to the UK, we got it checked out by a local GP, and there was nothing there, no evidence today that she'd incurred any injury. So the power of Swami's vibhuti, the power protects me. The power of his vibhuti protects me. That's what we believe, and that's what we chant. His power protects me. So we have to do that with conviction and with faith and the prayer. So we all take vibhuti, take it on a daily basis when we pray in the morning. I have a glass of vibhuti water every morning. I take vibhuti when I do my prayers, vibhuti throughout the day. But our prayers have to be sincere and from the heart. Jai Sai Ram.